Hey everyone, I'm going to talk about how to repair your plastic bins with the plastic welder kit. 80 watt. I got it for less than 30. It's made in China and it comes with a brush, these filler rods, about a dozen or more, some wire mesh, and a steel brush. So I'm heating it up right now. The filler rods are about 90.09. To give you an idea, a 1/16 of an inch, which this is a little over. 1/16 of an inch is what, 60 thousandths, and an eighth of an inch is 0.12. Yeah. So I recommend you use something thick, 0.1 or over. This bin is really thin. It's an old one, and this says 60.06. So that's about a 1/16 of an inch. Really thin. You really can't plastic weld much. As you can see, I tried to do it here and I had to put filler in. There's like 4 holes, so it burned right through it. So I've got a couple. I'm going to try a different couple things, hopefully. I've already tried the filler stick. That works. You can salvage, this is off a milk carton, the tops of a milk carton. I'm going to just kind of try some different things. So I think this is hot enough now. Let's give it a little, yeah, it's hot. Oh, I should go through my modified tip here. This was a triangle, and as you can see on the sides, I used a grinder because it was like that wide, about an inch wide at the very bottom, and I ground those down because I didn't need the surface damage or surface area to cover so wide an area. Because what you'll get, and maybe on the other video I did, you can see the recycle bin. What happened was the recycle bin, it made a real wide and ugly path, and this makes a real tiny line. I don't really want to stretch it, the weld, over about this thickness. This thickness is, well, I got it about 0.4, so that's almost a half an inch. 0.5 is a half an inch, so it's at 0.4. So there's a hole right here. So let me, I'm just going to use something really odd, like this is up top of a milk carton. I just kind of cut it. What I'm trying to do here, I don't know if I can get a really good angle so you can see. Probably not. Well, I'm going to have to do lefty then. So I'm just going to touch the iron on it and it'll melt. This just melts it down, and I'm just kind of spreading it around over the holes. It's a little sloppy, but it works. Always have a towel that is got a little water on it. Usually don't hold it. Always take safety precautions not to get burnt. As you can see, the infrared camera I'm using, it really makes this glow, doesn't it? So that's hot. That's putting off some heat. This will dry. Next I'm going to try to put a little bit of thin, what is it, milk carton. This is only 0.02 thousandths of an inch, or 20 thousandths of an inch. So I'm just going to do right over here. So I kind of use the edge to kind of cut it off and then flatten it. It really didn't do that good. Clean it off. But it was quicker. You can just, basically what I'm doing is I'm taking about, what, 1/8 of an inch or more, and I'm putting the iron and cutting it off and then flattening the iron. Okay, and then just kind of filling her in. I guess it kind of works. That's a good cheap way to use your milk cartons to build up some area. It seems to work all right. Of course, the color is going to make it look god-awful. As you can see, let me show you what I did with the blue cap. It just looks terrible. But it works. Yeah, it's about cool, and it seems real solid. It's a little warm, but it seems real solid. So you can use just about any plastic as long as it melts. Let me see if I can show you the. Yeah, it looks like some of the filler rod kind of spilled out of the back. So you'll have to go from behind, if you can, and just heat that up so it's smooth to the surface. And that should give you a real nice, or a stronger, I should say, surface. There, that's almost completely flat. We'll clean that off. It will smell. So here the handle totally was where is it? You can see cracks. I'm going to work on that next. What's a good vantage point? I'll try that. So I'm going to go in. Maybe I should show you on the outside first. Well, normally I would go ahead and use the drill and put a hole right where this crack ends, right before it. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to try to get some of this. As you can see, I already tried to weld it a little bit. So it's really thin stuff, and you really have to just touch it. 1001, 1002. You have to feel the tip kind of go in a little bit and do kind of a shovel method. And as you can see, it kind of made a bead there. Not the best looking thing. Where are my pieces? I might put some, I'm going to need something thicker. I don't think I'll use that. Now this is from a milk carton. And I'm going to see if I can't meld it to the top here so it stays a little. So it's at this point you can kind of meld it in. And what I'm doing is I'm just scraping it, or just touching the top and then kind of moving it outward. and that's a milk carton, and it's fairly see-through, and that's the purpose. If you've got like an older one, like, well, actually this one I should just cut up since this handle's gone. Just cut it up and use these pieces to fix other bins. But right now I'm not going to do that. Okay, so I can feel that there. I might go over it again, get that pushed in. Okay, here's another little piece of milk carton. This is like the cap, where the cap is. It's really jagged. I'm going to try to use that. If I can hold on to it. On the inside, and I'm just going to put my finger there, and hopefully I might have to change things up here. Alright, so what I'm going to attempt to do is just kind of push this plastic here and then push it onto the plastic so it sticks, and then I can go down to the bottom and make this stick, and what you don't want to do is you do not want to leave it on the plastic to make a hole. I'm getting close, but it's kind of pushing around. It's kind of filling up a little bit. Alright, I'm going to clean off this iron so it's not stinking up. So let me show you what I did there. It's right there. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it adds a little bit. I suggest doing like 1/8 of an inch. Let me go ahead and do the fill rod, because that's what comes with it, but you can use any plastic material. And let me show you, this has got holes in it, right? It's really shoved in. It's got 1, 2, 3 little holes right there. So I'm going to use this ugly black looking filler rod, and I'm doing the same method. I'm just kind of cutting off about 1/8 or a little bit more than 1/8, maybe 1/4 of an inch on the side of my iron, so it cuts it off. Now I can kind of press it in and make it melt. And also, if you grind off the sides, you're able to see around more. The triangle really obstructs your view a little bit, but you can get smaller little irons. You can also use a regular soldering iron with a real thin tip, but the advantages to this flat surface is you can really smear this around, and with a regular soldering iron tip, you're not going to really be able to do that. It's going to be really awkward even if you can. So yeah, you can kind of move that in place, kind of swirl it around. Something like that. This one's pretty solid still. Now this actually feels kind of solid. What I just, that filler stuff I just put on, it was only 60 thousandths thick. But yeah, this feels solid. You wouldn't want to attach a handle and lift on it very much. So that's it for this. So I'm going to go back to my big project here. As you can see, I did a little work on it. There's some really big gaping places in here. And it just doesn't want to stay very well. Let me turn on the light here. All right. So this has got a gap. If you're ever doing a trash can, even though it has a gap, this will be about, what, 50 thousandths of an inch, 0.05. And even with that gap, you should be able to close this up. Now this is pretty solid, and this is about the smoothest piece here. Let me just start closing this up. And this is what? Real thick. Let me measure that, what I'm using. I believe it's let me use a big point in here. Okay, that's almost 0.1. So that's a pretty good thickness. I wouldn't want to go any lower than that, for sure. All right. All right. So this has got a pretty substantial opening, so I'm just going to try to marry these two. As you can see, I'm just kind of pushing it in. Yeah. This is going to need, I think, a little filler. But you can do that by kind of swirling that in. It kind of looks concave a little bit, but I think I will need filler in here because that's about a 1/16 of an inch open there. So just cut off a piece. It hasn't cut off yet. There we go. So that filled that right up. So when you do a piece like this, what I'm going to have to do is this is overlapping right here, and I'm going to let this all dry and move on, and then I'll come back to that later. Once you get a place, you need to just kind of work on a place and then move on. This is pretty nasty. So you need to join these up as best as you can. I'm just not getting a good angle. There we go. I don't think I can. Alright. Push this in. There we go. I'm not going to put a hole in this. I'm just going to start working it. Once they're joined up, I'm going to start at this hole. Kind of push it in a little bit. Seems like the best method for me anyway. Then I'm just going to kind of smear that over. And that looks all pretty smooth. You let this run a while and this will stay really hot. It won't get overly hot. I haven't had it shut down or anything. I don't think it has an automatic shutdown. Yeah, this is going to be a little tough. You're going to need two hands. You might even have to tape one of these things. So I'm going to try to just get this kind of tack welded here. Maybe smear over it a little bit. Yeah, it wants to move. So let's go back. Where were we? Yeah. Right here. So let me put that down before I burn myself. All right. I'm going to have to get in with my other hand. Well, that doesn't want to move. Making it worse. Definitely. So I think I'm just going to start welding this. All right. See if I can get this. I might just tip it down. No, that's not really going to work. You need to kind of have this kind of at a 45-degree angle. Kind of push it in for this to really do anything. I think in my next video I might either change the tip, maybe sharpen that a little bit. But then I just smear that over. Wipe off a little of the excess. Okay, this has got about a 1/16 of an inch gap in here. And I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. You can see it. I am just going to try to... I'm going to have to touch both sides, that's for sure. Then I'm just going to flatten this corner and then come over, hopefully put all this plastic in that hole, kind of push it over, and it's not looking too bad. Not too bad. The black looks like there's a hole in it, so if you can get anything other than black, I think, well, visually it doesn't really matter, I guess. You know it's sealed. So just go around. Here we go. And once you have it married, butted up against each other, just kind of do a little tack weld there. So in between those two areas, just kind of do a tack weld in the middle. So if you're moving around, once this hardens, then it'll still basically stay in the same place. So let that cool. Come back to this area. It didn't take, yeah. Let's see if we can get it so you can see it. I'm working with a new camera or an old camera. There we go. That was a little off, and I don't know what I did, since I was moving this around after I just got done doing it and it didn't cool right, or what happened, but it seemed like it moved. Probably since I was doing this stuff back here, it moved it out of place. Alright, all that stuff looks good. Of course, there's chunks out of the bottom since I've neglected this one for so long. I didn't know you could weld plastic, or it just didn't come to mind, I guess. But this is kind of real handy to have. This is going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. This is definitely going to be a, yeah, see, I tried to move it, and that tack weld just did not want to work. So let's try another tack weld. Hopefully I don't burn myself here. Alright. And then you smear it. Let's go up top here. So the thing is, you have to do it right on the crack. If you go on the sides of the crack, it kind of defeats the purpose. It doesn't marry anything. It just kind of, so you're gonna have to go right in the middle of that crack for sure. Wipe it off every once in a while so you're not sticking up your garage or your work area. So usually they take smaller little chunks out of here when you use the shovel method. But I take bigger chunks. You can experiment. Okay, this one isn't really wanting to marry together really well, so I'm just kind of going to try to put this plastic together. And okay, I probably should leave this alone. And little pieces I just got from this cake cover. These are real small, 20 thousandths. So if you can get something thicker, I would. Let's go back to this. This is all, it's not very smooth. There's some sharp edges here. So I would just go ahead and, especially since I added this piece, you can see right here the milk container piece. Any sharp edges, just kind of go over it and it should help. And if you're looking for more area, just go, instead of north-south, go east-west with the with it. Just kind of slowly smear, and that should help cover your jagged plastic. This is pretty smooth and it's pretty solid right here. So I think I will, oh, there it started to crack. pieces like this from this plastic, this is about what, 60 thousandths of an inch. This would be excellent to use as filler also. So I'll leave it there. I hope this video gives you some helps you, gives you some tips on how to do this, and keep coming back for great videos. That's for it's True Power plastic welding kit. I'm not sure if there's any more of these or any different models. This one was made in China. Got it for under less than, I think it was like 24 bucks. I've seen them higher priced, but they're basically the same thing. So try to get it for 23 or under. That's it. Keep coming back for more videos.